Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 1. If a man marries a woman who becomes displeasing to him because he finds something indecent about her, and he writes her a certificate of divorce, gives it to her and sends her from his house. Verse 2. And if after she leaves his house she becomes the wife of another man. Verse 3. And her second husband dislikes her and writes her a certificate of divorce, gives it to her and sends her from his house. Or if he dies. Verse 4. Then her first husband, who divorced her, is not allowed to marry her again after she has been defiled. That would be detestable in the eyes of the Lord. Do not bring sin upon the land the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. Verse 5. If a man has recently married, he must not be sent to war or have any other duty laid on him. For 1 year he is to be free to stay at home and bring happiness to the wife he has married. Verse 6. Do not take a pair of millstones, not even the upper one, as security for a debt, because that would be taking a person's livelihood as security. Verse 7. If someone is caught kidnapping a fellow Israelite and treating or selling him as a slave, the kidnapper must die. You must purge the evil from among you. Verse 8. In cases of defiling skin diseases, be very careful to do exactly as the Levitical priests instruct you. You must follow carefully what I have commanded them. Verse 9. Remember what the Lord your God did to Miriam along the way after you came out of Egypt. Verse 10. When you make a loan of any kind to your neighbor, do not go into their house to get what is offered to you as a pledge. Verse 11. Stay outside and let the neighbor to whom you are making the loan bring the pledge out to you. Verse 12. If the neighbor is poor, do not go to sleep with their pledge in your possession. Verse 13. Return their cloak by sunset so that your neighbor may sleep in it. Then they will thank you, and it will be regarded as a righteous act in the sight of the Lord your God. Verse 14. Do not take advantage of a hired worker who is poor and needy, whether that worker is a fellow Israelite or a foreigner residing in one of your towns. Verse 15. Pay them their wages each day before sunset, because they are poor and are counting on it. Otherwise they may cry to the Lord against you, and you will be guilty of sin. Verse 16. Parents are not to be put to death for their children, nor children put to death for their parents. Each will die for their own sin. Verse 17. Do not deprive the foreigner or the fatherless of justice, or take the cloak of the widow as a pledge. Verse 18. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt and the Lord your God redeemed you from there. That is why I command you to do this. Verse 19. When you are harvesting in your field and you overlook a sheaf, do not go back to get it. Leave it for the foreigner, the fatherless and the widow, so that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands. Verse 20. When you beat the olives from your trees, do not go over the branches a second time. Leave what remains for the foreigner, the fatherless and the widow. Verse 21. When you harvest the grapes in your vineyard, do not go over the vines again. Leave what remains for the foreigner, the fatherless and the widow. Verse 22. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt. That is why I command you to do this.